We should move on a little bit because there's still much more to talk about. I don't know how familiar you are with the world of graphic novels and cartooning, but I assume you know about Art Spiegelman. He was the creator of the graphic novel Mouse. And every now and then, I've been a longtime critic of art. I think arguably I might be his number one critic. I wrote a cover story for the Village Voice that became, by some standards, according to the letters editor there, had received more letters than any other article in the history of the Village Voice.
Oh my God, what did you say?
And that's really stupid. I mean, it's cartooning. It's not that important. But I said that basically Art Spiegelman was wildly overrated, that his work, he doesn't produce much work, and what work there isn't that good. That Mouse is okay, but the main thing is the Holocaust is a sexy topic. That he also had outsized control in the world of cartooning, particularly in New York, through he and his wife, who was the editor at one of the key editors who selected illustrations and cartoons at the New Yorker. And that between the two of them, he was a professor at School of Visual Arts in New York, that basically they controlled the world of illustrations and cartooning, and not in a positive way, that they were not benevolent dictators, that they kind of just basically were running a grift for themselves and their friends. And it's basically, I would say, the response in the cartooning community was 50%. Ted Rall is completely full of shit and just jealous of Art Spiegelman, which is not true. And 50% thought I was right. So that was back in the early 90s, speaking of the Gulf War period. Late 90s. It was a little bit later than that. Anyway, so Art is currently in the New York Times today, arguing that, so he was the subject of, and I'm very jealous of him about this. PBS did one of their American Masters series about him. And I mean, that's exciting. He's 77 years old.
Made it. Yeah.
You've made it. Yeah, no question. That'll never happen to me, I'm sure. But anyway, the point is, obviously it was a loving portrait, but at some point he had done a cartoon that had been distributed by him and Francoise at the Women's March in 2017 against Trump's inauguration, that basically showed Donald Trump as literally a shithead. He is, instead of his hair, he has a turd on his head with flies all over it. And basically, it was a cartoon that never appeared in print anywhere except like self-published. And anyway, so at some point there was a 90-second clip, I guess, depicting that cartoon, and the word came down from PBS and WNET that this should not appear. This should be excised from the final documentary, and basically there was dispute. They agreed to do it because they had to, but now it's coming out, and Art Spiegelman and his allies are crying censorship here. They're saying this is in response to the pressure that the Trump administration is putting against public broadcasting, right? Like by threatening to cut all federal funding for PBS and NPR, which parenthetically, I still don't understand how NPR in particular, which gets less than 1% of their funding.
Less than 1%. Yes.
Just let it go. Like,
who cares?
And not to mention, a lot of NPR people are paid insanely well. If you look at these paychecks, I mean, like the local broadcasters here at WNYC, they make over $400,000 a year. That's ridiculous. I think, look, God bless them, except for the fact that they're begging for public money. And I think people who accept public funds should work on a narrow, they should tighten their belts a little more.
Yeah, agreed.
That's me. And if you've ever been to NPR, I'm sure you have, NPR headquarters in Washington.
Oh yeah, and I told them, don't ever call me again,
because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's luxurious. It's sumptuous. I mean, I used to work at KFI Radio in LA, which is a 50,000 watt powerhouse, mega station in LA. It's like vintage 1970s shag carpeting, wires falling out of the ceiling, asbestos. And it doesn't need to be that much of a dump. But the point is, that's how most radio stations are. And it's like, and I was like, don't call me for funding. Is that why you're saying that?
No, because they were assholes to me. Steve Inskeep, who I freaking can't stand, tried to do a gotcha interview with me. And the first words out of my mouth were, "Oh, no, you don't. I'm not playing this game with you." And we were live.
Oh, God.
We were live. Oh, yeah. He ended the interview as quickly as he could. Before I even got out of the building, my phone started ringing and people were saying, "Oh, my God, I just heard your fight with Steve Inskeep. Good for you."
I've got to go look that up.
To these assholes. Oh, yeah.
Well,
and they never called me again. I said, "Don't ever call me again." And they never did.
That's awesome. Well, so anyway, I'm a careful observer of Art Spiegelman, and he's never missed a chance to criticize me either. And so it's kind of been like a feud in the world of cartooning, such as it is. But anyway, the point is, to me, this looks like a little bit like a grift, right? Like, I mean, so WNET and PBS, they're saying, look, a year ago, before Trump would have been, after us, we still wouldn't have run a cartoon on PBS depicting, the president with a turd and flies on it. And I have to say, I believe them. I think that's true. PBS is very tasteful. They try to be classy. It's conservative. Yes. It's G-rated. It's family. Already, they made some allowances for Spiegelman to have some cursing in his American Masters. And so they're running it at 10 o'clock at night instead of 8 o'clock at night. As for me, I'd want you to bleep out any cursing that I did. I'd rather run at 8. Yeah. Cursing's not important to me. I like to do it, but it's not a political stance. But I mean, whatever, you do you. But, it just seemed to me like, if you claim to be censored, you can really you can really win. Like the Pulitzer Prize in cartooning this year went for a second time to Ann Telnis formerly of the Washington Post. She quit the Washington Post because she felt that she couldn't do as many anti-Trump cartoons as she wanted to. But she wasn't fired, and they didn't want her to quit. They asked her not to quit. But kind of like the vibe is that she was fired or pushed out. And in their attestation, the Pulitzer board said one of the reasons we gave it to her was to send a message to the Washington Post, which is, by the way, I wouldn't want that. I'd want to win or lose. I'd want to win because of my work, not because they're trying to tell the president to go to hell. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this. I don't know. I mean, and also this is a guy who's like, I'm also kind of like thinking, American Master for what? He produces almost no work. I mean, he's like the least hardest working man in cartoon show business. I mean, he's got like a few books. He doesn't put out any cartoons of any note any time. Really, seriously, like you can name 100 political cartoonists. They've all done more work in 6 months than Art Spiegelman has created in his entire life. And he's not very good. I don't know. The whole thing just drives me kind of crazy.
Ted, is there any fallout for you, or has there been any fallout for you for criticizing somebody like him? If he's seen as the guy in the industry, what happened to you?
Well, for example, immediately after the Village Voice article appeared, one of his acolytes, this sort of low-level illustrator who I'd never heard of before, took it upon himself to impersonate me in emails to my editors to try to make me look like even more of an asshole than I really am. And including the New York Times, where I was a regular on the op-ed page up until that point. My editor calls me up and says, "What the fuck is going on?" I said, "Oh, that's not me. That's this other person." And he's like, "Well, I just can't, I don't want to be involved in like your drama." So I was fired by them. And that kind of thing, was like kept happening. So finally I sent a cease and desist to this dude. Long story short, I had to sue him. It became a big cause célèbre for him. Basically, he framed it as if I was trying to censor him and deprive him of his First Amendment rights, which you don't have to impersonate another person. Okay. It's like I sign all my work under my own name. I say everything I have to say under my own name. I don't sock puppet. I don't use fake names on social media. I don't give my own books positive reviews like Dave Eggers got caught doing one time.
Yes.
I don't do that kind of thing. And so, but anyway, people took each, my side or his side. He had a benefit concert against me. There were 2 books published about how I was an asshole called Legal Comics. I mean, compilations of people, some of whom used to be my friends. R. Crumb came out against me in favor of Art Spiegelman. In favor of Art Spiegelman's friend. So it became a big contretemps. My career definitely isn't the same because I did that. I don't care. I would do it again. It felt like this is like, what this is like. I feel like sometimes someone has to take out the trash. Like George Clooney felt like he had to take out the trash when it came to Joe Biden. It's no fun. No one else is doing it. And you're like, okay, I'll do it. Fuck it. That's how I felt. I mean, Spiegelman's influence was nefarious. And it's not what it used to be, but it was very much a negative thing. So I was like, I'm taking out the trash. And by the way, it wasn't exactly like only my idea. I had quite a few Confederates who were, helping me do the research and stuff. And I got so many crazy stories about him. My favorite one was that Art Spiegelman, I guess, collects vintage comics too. And he had in his car, someone broke into his car in Manhattan and stole some of them and sold them to St. Mark's Comics, which is comic store.
Yeah, famous. Yeah, down on St. Mark's Place.
Yeah, and so anyway, and the owner of St. Mark's Comics told me the following story. So Art Spiegelman walks in and says, "Oh, those are my comics that you're selling," and the guy says, "Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, this guy came in and just sold them to me. I'm sorry. I'd like to give them back to you." And Art just walks out without saying a word, right? Comes back with several police officers, has them arrest him and drag him off to the Tombs for the weekend until things get sorted out. And the Tombs is the lockup in Lower Manhattan in Chinatown. And it was the city prison, the city jail. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, the guy, everyone in the world of comics, it's a very small, insular world. We all know each other. He's a good guy. He didn't knowingly buy stolen merchandise. Immediately, he was horrified, and he knew who Art Spiegelman was. I mean, he was going to give the stuff back, but Art didn't want that. He wanted his pound of flesh. And that's kind of how he is. I
would have set all of it on fire. I'm that kind of a person.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I like your style. I think Art got his stuff back, and basically he was just like, the guy from St. Mark's Comics was none the worse for wear, I guess. But it makes a story. But I mean, that's the kind of guy he is. I mean, he's kind of a bad person.